Let's talk about Liberation Day. April 2nd, we're here. Some of you may be confused. I thought that Donald Trump told me Liberation Day was
November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America.
I thought that was Liberation Day. But then I was like, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, he changed it.
For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
I thought it was January 20th, 2025. That was Liberation Day. I thought I was already liberated. But then it turns out...
We have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd.
Turns out today is Liberation Day. And if you don't know what Liberation Day is essentially the day when a huge roster of tariffs is surprise announced to the world. That is supposed to, and I want to get the quote right here, it's just, you're not going to believe me if I don't have it on screen. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, and raped. By nations near and far, friend and foe alike. That is a direct quote. And so now we need to add surprise reciprocal tariffs on top of tariffs we already have to all these different countries. And I want to sort of give you a sense of what happened here. Donald Trump rolled out this chart that had tons and tons and tons of countries on it and the amounts they quote unquote charge us. Now it was later discovered this is a very simple formula. It's not actually tariffs they have on us. It's like the trade deficit of our country divided by 2. You know, if I go to a bookstore and buy a book, I now have a trade deficit with that store. Okay, because I got a good and they got money. And literally, I have seen examples of them say like Japan has tariffs on our cars. And if you look into it, they absolutely don't. Japan just doesn't buy our cars because they prefer their cars. But our cars can sell there at market price. It's not true. So we've responded with these reciprocal tariffs to try and bring down these trade deficits, which implies that everything these countries make will now be made in America. I want to point out, can I just go down this list? We have a 41% tariff on the Falkland Islands. You guys might not know this. There is an entire population of this place of 3,000. The regular working man is being ripped off. We're being ripped and pillaged by the Falkland Island 3,000 people because we buy more there than they buy of us. So we've added a 41% tariff on them, I guess, to cripple the economy of, what is the point of this? I have spoken over and over and over again about how there's many reasons to see these overly protectionist measures like tariffs as bad economic policy. I've talked about how they raise costs for consumers, how they make your own industry less competitive, to be honest. Our EV makers don't have to compete on the level of China because we can just block them out. However, I can understand people can have a different view of mine and want to have a coordinated tariff to bring certain industries to America. However, when it's applied to every country in the world out of the blue on Liberation Day at once, what you do is you make your business partners scared, you make your allies scared, you make people not want to work with you, and you end up pushing people into the arms of other more stable countries. As you may have noticed the headline, Japan, China, and South Korea are jointly responding to US tariffs. If you can get Japan and China and South Korea to agree on something, you've done something wrong. These countries hate each other. They're always feuding. They have deep cultural rifts and divides. I mean, it's truly isolating the country. And the thought that we could make all the things these countries make in America is insane. Now, there's multiple reasons to think this is kind of foolish. And we talked about this today on Lemonade Stand. So if you watch the episode tomorrow, we really went into it and tried to kind of steelman it and like really break down why, at least I personally think it doesn't work either way. But understand this, if you are going to do tariffs, doing them in a chaotic way where they're up one day, down the next, oh, there's a deal, I get rid of it, oh, there's not, makes it so nobody can possibly rely on them existing to invest to build a new factory. If this is America and this is a different country, let's say the Falkland Islands, and they make, I don't even know what they fucking make. What is the biggest export of Falkland Islands? Fish fillet. Let's say, for example, we really want to get that squid industry back into America. We're sick of them killing all our USA squid farmers. So we put up a tariff so their squid can't profitably sell in America. If you are a squid farming corporation and you're like, okay, well, fuck, these tariffs are hurting us. I guess I got to build in America. What I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow millions of dollars or take money I've saved and invest in building squid production facilities in America. It's an extremely risky gamble, but I'm going to move all my shit over here and build it in America. If you do that, and then a few years later, let's say at best 4, and the tariff goes away, and all of a sudden you are now non-competitive with the Falkland Islands again, then you've wasted all of this money. Now imagine the same thing for every country. They're not gonna spend the millions of dollars to try and go build in America because they don't know if the tariff's gonna be at the same level tomorrow. It's so ad hoc, it's so wild, it's so swingy. They can't even plan for it. So what they do instead is they just cut you out of the picture and start doing their best to trade elsewhere. And everyone else gets great deals on squid, shirts, or toasters, or whatever fucking manufactured products are made worldwide, and you get screwed. All your customers pay more, and nobody actually wants to invest there because it's too risky. That is the actual way it's playing out right now. And I want to point that out, like, speaking of Japan and China not getting along, recently, Japan finally dumped the rest of the Fukushima wastewater back into the ocean. It had been treated like 10,000 times. By all measures, it was independently verified by many, the water was clean. It's clean, you can put it back. Either way, it became this kind of like anti-Japanese sentiment in China. It became this story that Japan was dirty and they were poisoning the water and that all Japanese fish were radioactive and would kill you. China banned all Japanese seafood. Well, what happened in response was that Japan just started boosting seafood exports to new markets. Everyone else got better deals on Japanese seafood. It's not that the industry was destroyed, so China just got screwed. China just had more expensive seafood. That's it. The only end result was that China had more expensive seafood and people around got better deals on Japanese. That is what we're doing with every single good made in every single other country at the same time. It's astronomically dumb. I understand there is a polarization in America. There's a political divide. It is not woke to think this is stupid. I follow so many finance people, 70-year-old white guys who voted Republican. They voted for Trump. They all fucking hate. This is stupid. This is stupid, dude. The minuscule fuel jobs we create from some people onshoring are not going to counterbalance the lost trade partners and the loss of competitiveness that's going to come from this. And the stock market is responding appropriately. So today, stocks were up until the midday when he walked out with this poster and the stock market immediately dropped $2 trillion. Yeah, American stocks are on track for the worst quarter in 23 years. And this, by the way, is before today. The last time stocks were doing this bad was after the WorldCom and Enron scandals. That was the last quarter things were this bad. I'm just trying to make my point as coherently as I can. This is a bet the economy situation on a theory that truly doesn't make sense. Tariffs have been thoroughly tried and debunked. And the last major time, again, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was in the 30s, in the beginning of the Great Depression. And what it did was it extended and amplified and worsened the Great Depression. And it's worth noting, yet again, that the guy Trump talks about as the great Mr. Tariff, President McKinley, tried tariffs and they only lasted 4 years because they were so unpopular, they were repealed. So if you're any of these countries, you're gonna think probably the same thing will happen. I'm not gonna make plans for this to be around for 10, 20 years because it's definitely gonna get repealed. One thing I will say though, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Let's go, Donnie T. Taiwan as a separate country marker than China. Stand up to Xi Jinping, my king, giving them their own separate 32% tariff. And I want to say, you can't make everything in your own country. I mean, listen, China's trying. I understand that. But even they are trying desperately to move up the value chain, to stop making the bottom end stuff like toasters or t-shirts and make the high end stuff like electric vehicles and microchips and planes. And you have to assume that you're not going to be able to make everything at cost in one country. And the results bear this out. The countries that have the highest average tariff rates are like Argentina, India, Brazil. These are too high. France, Germany, Italy, Australia, US, Japan generally had the lowest ones. Down here below this is like Bangladesh. You don't want to be the Bangladesh of the economy. You would prefer to be the high-end, high-producing one. My main takeaway is that I just think this is gonna backfire so hard, and I don't know if anyone's ready for that. Certainly not Republicans running for office. We saw what happened with the Wisconsin election the other day, where the method that worked before didn't work this time, and Elon Musk's money and Twitter presence actually seemed to hurt rather than help. But it seems like Americans are starting to sour on this economy. The reason Trump was elected was overwhelmingly on inflation and prices, then jobs in the economy. This is the thing that's been like made worse. So people will sour. Here's a poll. People in January 42% thought they'd be better off under Trump's policies. They expected to be better off. Now, 42% say worse off. Opinions are changing. There's other stuff that goes into a vote, but on the economy, people are souring quickly. And we're still in the first 100 days, which is usually like a honeymoon period. As we get out of that, people tend to sour more and more unless they can find a way to turn this around. And we have to fucking change course quickly. We got to figure out a better plan. I want to say, yet again, I understand if you see China as a geostrategic rival, if you want high-end industry like solar panels or EVs to be made more in America and less in your geostrategic rival, fine. Then what you would do is you would work with all of your allies to try and build a coordinated tariff plan where you do free trade with them, but try to like put pressure on your opponent. That at least makes sense. You cannot make everyone in the world your enemy at the same time and expect that to go well. And I don't know how to be less blunt about it. Again, China controls so much of the world's manufacturing that if you flash back even a few months ago, before this whole tariff discussion from Trump, it was generally agreed upon by most countries in the world, including like India, all of Europe, the Philippines, like many countries that they were like getting kind of pissed off with China. They want to like try to stop China from eating all their manufacturing jobs. Pretty much everybody kind of would have teamed up. China's been going on a bit of an export boom in the mid 2020s. This is the number of trade probes against China. This is countries like saying, hey, we're annoyed with China's dumping products on our market. It has spiked in 24. It went from 60 to 80 to 142 trade probes. India, US, EU, Brazil, Australia, Turkey are all united in being like kind of pissed off, kind of trying to find a way to claw back some of the manufacturing from China. But in 25, I mean, the year's not over, so this number will get higher, but it's low because people can't focus on this when they're worried about America. So we are like blowing a generational opportunity to try and unite allies, kind of like in a trade agreement against our biggest rival, and instead pushing them into their arms. I understand that there's some people who they don't like DEI in video games or whatever, and we're not going to agree on that ever. But I think we should be able to handshake and agree that this fucking sucks. Like, I'm not opposed to a politician being in power who has different views than me on some things. What I'm opposed to is like shooting my country in the foot, making my place I live poorer and weaker and have fewer friends. And that's my update on Liberation Day. I don't feel very liberated. Hey, Big A, Howard here. Big fan. Thanks for the feedback. I'll pass it along to Donnie T. Thank you. I appreciate that.